Greetings, gaming historians, and welcome to Lord of Lore, where we break down the lore and history of our favorite video games and fantasies. And today, we're returning to the world of Amalur to discuss one of the most fascinating races in its world, and that is the Ljosalfar. Hailing from the icy lands of Glen, Suane, the Ljosalfar are a wise and ancient race that prize justice and tradition. In the game of Reckoning, the Ljosalfar kingdom may not seem to be as involved in the Crystal War as the Dokkalfar cousins and human mercenaries, but make no mistake, as one of the most ancient and powerful kingdoms in Amalur, the Ljosalfar have been instrumental in the history of the world around them, both in keeping peace and delivering cold justice to potential threats. Today, we're going to be learning about the Ljosalfar history both before and after the game of Reckoning. Now, fair warning, there are spoilers ahead. Let's discuss. To begin, let's cover what we already know about the Ljosalfar according to the main game of Reckoning and its many sources of lore. Although the Ljosalfar homeland hails far west of the Feylands, the Ljosalfar still have a major role in Reckoning, both as a playable race and one of the many factions fighting against the Tuatha De Danann. This is especially seen in General Talera, a high-ranking and respected officer charged with defending Melson Shear. By speaking to her, the player can learn a little bit more about her race. She admits that her people are often seen as lofty in their ideals and even snooty in their temperament, but this is all in their goals to promote justice and light in the world around them. Perhaps most instrumental to Ljosalfar law and order are the justiciars, zealots that travel across Glen Suane, administering justice and helping Ljosalfar settlements in decisions concerning law and culture. But where did these Ljosalfar come from, and how did they grow into perhaps the single strongest mortal kingdom in the world of Amalur? Well, as most of my viewers know, the earliest records of history, as vague as they are, can be traced back to the Deep Gloam, a dark time of chaos and destruction, likely to be the result of Niskaru. Once the Deep Gloam ended, the Alfar were one of the young races to emerge from their hiding places underground, but upon returning to the land their ancestors claimed, they found nothing but a cold wasteland. Harsh winters and brutal conditions thinned their numbers, so the Alfar decided to venture south in search of a new home, sailing down an icy stretch known as the Perilous Straits, which also brought death and hardship upon their people. Eventually, the Alfar established their home of Eldrith in the cold valley that would become Glen Suane. Thankfully, they established a close alliance with the Matharans, a human kingdom that served the incredibly wise, almost angelic race known as the Arathi. Dedicated to survival, the Alfar watched as the other races around them, particularly the human tribes, rose and fell due to trials and division. In contrast, the Alfar celebrated their unity, persevering despite hardship and philosophical differences. At this time, Ljosalfar and Dokkalfar were separated not by any physical traits or history, but instead their views on order. While the Dokkalfar embraced change and evolution, the Ljosalfar saw harmony in the forces of the cosmos and nature and wished to hold fast to these rigid perfections. Despite these differences, the Ljosalfar and Dokkalfar remained as one. Eventually, the Arathi presented the younger races with the Codex of Order, a magical relic containing laws and systems to promote perfect order in a chaotic world. Whereas the Dokkalfar were wary of any unmalleable system, the Ljosalfar embraced the order of the Arathi. When the Arathi mysteriously disappeared and their Matharan followers began to decline, the Ljosalfar kept a piece of the fragmented codex and took it upon themselves to maintain order among the kingdoms of Amalur. Over time, the changing weather of Amalur started to thaw out the land of Glen Suane, but the Ljosalfar, having embraced the cold and the steel, used their magic to freeze their home forever, transforming the cold wasteland into a frozen paradise. However, change would come regardless. During this time of fighting and division, a militant race of humans known as the Durek ravaged the land, even killing a noble Alfar child. Enraged, the Alfar used their powerful armies and magic to devastate the Durek. While the Dokkalfar sought to completely wipe the Durek off the face of Amalur, the Ljosalfar justiciars declared that enough punishment had been delivered and the rest of the Durek were to be allowed to leave. This disagreement became the final straw between the Ljosalfar and the Dokkalfar, leading to a schism and secession that would lead to the Dokkalfar becoming their own race and world power in the Feylands. During the Age of Arcana, when magic became available to the younger races like humans, likely due to the influence of Tirnoch, it was the Ljosalfar who first taught them how to wield the arcane powers, establishing Talendre in the land of Loran to train potential sorcerers. This training became essential during the Crystal War. While the Ljosalfar first tried to broker a peace with the violent Duatha, when this proved impossible, it was up to the Ljosalfar to train military mages and send in reinforcements to Rathir. When the war was over, however, the divide between the Light Elves and the Dark Elves deepened. The Dokkalfar discovered the power of Prismir and began to experiment with its great power, changing their appearance and moving further away from Alfar traditions. During the Age of Ruin, Talindre and Rathir were destroyed, so the Ljosalfar retreated to Glen, while the Dokkalfar retreated to their Prismir caverns underground. Like most races during the Age of Ruin, the Alfar were cut off from contact with the rest of the outside kingdoms until the Colossi Empire drove back the forces of chaos. The Ljosalfar played a large part in the Colossi Crusade. Not only did the humble Masariel help the elves in their defense of Eldrith, but the three kingdoms joined forces to liberate the Almain from Jotun occupation. After gifting their Masariel friends with the land of Tir na Nog, the Ljosalfar helped their allies to forge the Concordance Alliance, setting up a new law that would ensure order, cooperation, and help to drive back the many invaders still present in the Feylands. In this age, however, increasing influence began to shift from the Ljosalfar to the Colossi and even the Almain, but the Light Elves were content to let the other races take the spotlight in political affairs. When the Colossi Empire continued to grow in power and ambition, the Ljosalfar spent most of their time in their homeland, tending to their own affairs and sending help when needed. However, the increasingly corrupt Colossi Empire was eventually crippled by a Dokkalfar scheme. Fearing the Colossi's growth and increasingly restricting laws, the Dokkalfar plotted against them, seducing the Colossi Emperor to forsake the Jotun and accept the Dark Elves' help in raising new cities into the sky. Their plans ready, the Dokkalfar began their assault, leading to two of the great Colossi cities to fall from the sky, and its surviving citizens were attacked by the Dark Elves' new Jotun allies. Though the Ljosalfar sent aid to help rescue the Colossi, it was the Almain warriors who played the biggest role, cementing themselves as the future leaders of the Concordance. With the betrayal of the Dokkalfar and the emergence of new world powers, the Age of Enlightenment transitioned into the Age of Heroes, an age in which the Concordance would fight against the kingdoms of the Amaranthine, an alliance favoring ambition and power over order and justice. Indeed, many Ljosalfar heroes would take part in this major world war, but a majority of the Ljosalfar stayed in Glen to study a new phenomenon, another major shift and spike in Amalur's magic. What role this new magic would play in the future of Amalur remains to be seen. And that about does it for today's video. The Ljosalfar are one of my favorite races in the world of Amalur, combining light and magic with a cold desire for justice. However, there are still questions that are yet to be answered. Will the Ljosalfar and Dokkalfar ever reconcile their growing division? What caused the spike of magic in the Age of Heroes? And could the Ljosalfar use their understanding of it to their advantage? Leave your thoughts in the comment section below, and remember to drop a like and subscribe so my channel can grow. Feel free to comment what you would like to see next, new videos regularly. God bless!